I'm Chance.
And I'm Sarah Catherine.
And this is Conservation Connection,
presented by Last Chance Endeavors.
We are a husband and wife team running a wildlife education nonprofit. It's focused on connecting students to their environment.
Each week, here on Conservation Connection, we do just that, introducing you to the groundbreaking science and conservation work that's happening every day across the globe.
We talk to professionals in the world of conservation science and wildlife management, and we ask them about their career,
their current projects,
their wild and crazy stories from the field,
and everything in between.
This episode is a collaboration with EarthX here in Dallas, Texas.
EarthX is the largest Earth Day celebration in the world, and it brings in speakers from every corner of the environmental arena.
Listen in to hear the stories of today's environmental titans, covering everything from environmental law, ocean health, renewable energy, clean transportation, and so much more.
Let's get to the show.
Welcome to another micro episode of Conservation Connections. We're here at Dallas at EarthX 2019, and we're sitting down with David Marquis.
Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Now, you are a writer, an environmental activist. You have done a lot of different things. What have you done here in Dallas?
We began a series of long, slow conversations to change our city. An assistant city manager named Jill Jordan and I sat down in 2006 and began to think about what we need to do to make this city a more environmentally friendly place, a more sustainable place. And that came about in part because I have grandchildren. I love to work with young people. And so my grandkids really made me focus on how are we going to leave the world a better place for their generation. So we began to talk to the business community, the environmental community, the political community, and we began to rewrite the laws of the city of Dallas. So these would be sustainable changes that we knew would continue over a long period of time.
And was there something that prompted this? Was there an event that happened that made you say, we need to make this city greener? Or was it kind of an accumulation of things?
It's an accumulation of things. Over a long period of time, I've been involved in environmental issues, but I began to look at how the city was changing. More traffic, huge population increase, drought, the kinds of things that really get your attention. Droughts that last a while, that burn up the grass and the trees and the people around them. People dying from drought and heat. Changes that came in such a way that you could not ignore them. And as a result, we began to think about, if this is happening, it's going to continue to happen, what are we going to do to address it? And address it in a practical way that brings real change.
So these are the things you've accomplished in the recent years. Looking forward to the next 5, 10, 15 years, what are you hoping to accomplish otherwise?
It's a great question. I think that we have to look at our energy sources and become more renewable, cleaner energy. I think we have to really look at population growth because North Texas, Dallas and Fort Worth area is growing so fast. And as a car culture, that means more cars on the road. So we've got to ask, how do we move people around, not how do we move cars around? So these are the kinds of issues that we have to deal with on a daily basis. We also have to deal with how we conserve. We have a lot of natural resources here. Most people don't know we have the largest urban forest in America.
Wow.
In Dallas, Texas.
Wow.
Yeah, I definitely didn't know.
Yeah, 7,500 acres.
Wow.
It's stunning to think about that Dallas, Texas has that. We also have the Trinity Watershed that comes down from Fort Worth to Dallas, down to Houston. It serves almost half of the people of Texas. So how do we protect that? How do we make ourselves a resilient city and make sure we're preserving our wetlands and our forest? Because we are developing, we are growing, more and more people are coming here. So we're in that space where you can't really ever stop economic growth if population is growing. Because if people are coming here, they've got to have places to live, places to shop, places to eat. But we have to do it in such a way that we really address the natural resource issues and conserve and preserve the natural resources we have in order that we can continue to have any quality of life whatsoever in terms of air quality and water quality.
And just being really intentional about how you grow. You can't stop the growth. The growth is going to happen. So if you know what's coming down the pipe, you have to be really intentional in the choices that you make and the way that you plan the city's future so that it has a sustainable future, so that it has a future at all, really.
That's exactly right. And the word intentional, I think, is exactly spot on. Because if you don't become intentional and look down the road to see the challenges you're going to face, then you're going to be caught short. And you're going to lose your tree canopy. The air quality is going to be badly affected. So unless you are intentional and you are really focused on the challenges you're going to face in the future and how you address them on an ongoing basis, that's why we focused on changing ordinances. Having a march is a great thing. But having a march or having a protest of some kind, I go way back as an activist, and I've marched many times, but you have to make the changes in the ordinances and the structures and the laws. And if you don't do that, then the energy of the march is dispelled. The energy of the movement can be dispelled. But if you make these changes in a practical way, like changing an ordinance, rewriting a law, then that can last over a long period of time and go beyond what I call beyond the march.
I wanted to go back to a point that you mentioned earlier, that so often now you see cities working on their highways and adding more lanes, but they aren't doing so much finding ways to move people, like you said, and not ways to move cars.
I think there's an interesting generational point to make there also, and that is that younger generations seem to be green to start with. It's something that older people have to deal with a little bit, because for a long time, there weren't a lot of people on the planet. The population of this planet's almost tripled in my lifetime. I'm 68 years old now. So it's almost tripled in my lifetime. So as a result, moving that many cars around is much more difficult now because there are so many more people and so many more cars. But your generation has had a chance to come up with the environmental movement as being part of your life, being green as being part of your life. And that's a really good thing. So as we look at how do we move people instead of cars, well, that means that the forms we have for housing change, that the way we build sidewalks and streets changes, the way that we have, whether it's autonomous vehicles that are coming soon, whether people have walkable neighborhoods. All those are issues that deal with city planning, that deal with highway and transportation planning, and those are issues that we have to be involved in. And here's the thing that I would want to emphasize. Everybody has a place in this movement, in changing the world, making it a better place. There's something for everyone to do, whether it's becoming an urban planner or whether it's becoming a conservationist who wants to conserve trees and work in the forest, whatever it might be. There's a great story from Atlanta in the civil rights movement. This is a place where my civil rights background and the environment come together. Way back during the civil rights movement, young people would protest and be arrested and they'd be put in jail. And the police in Atlanta in those days would keep them in jail till the middle of the night, just basically to inconvenience everybody.
Yeah.
And then they'd release them so their parents have to come pick them up in the middle of the night. But there was a motel in Atlanta that was black-owned, and they would serve food in the middle of the night and put this food out. So the kids, when released from jail, would know they could go there and get something to eat while their parents came to get them. Now, in my mind, the people who worked in the kitchen and cooked that food were every bit as important as the young activists that got arrested.
100%.
All of us can be involved in this in some way. And that's an important thing for all of us to remember, is we can't all be the speakers. We can't all be the politicians. We can't all be the elected officials. But there's a place for everyone doing this work to save the environment, to save our planet.
And I really want to kind of hammer that home, because regardless of what your skill set is, regardless of what your interests are, there is always a way to leverage that into protecting the planet. I mean, just the other day, we were talking with a venture capitalist, and for me, I'm not a finance person. I'm like, let's go catch lizards and bugs. That's me. So venture capitalists, for those of you who are not as familiar with it, their job is basically to find up-and-coming businesses and give them money so that they can get bigger. That's what venture capital is. And this is a venture capital firm that is all about finance, but they invest exclusively in green startups and in connecting utilities providers with innovation in terms of clean energy, and through the lens of venture capitalism. And that is, I had never even thought that was a way to do it, but that is green venture capital. There's always a way to take your skills and what you're doing and turn it into something that helps the planet.
That is exactly right. And whether you write a book, make a film, start a new company, look for ways to create change. There are two kinds of change that I talk about. One is that you have to internalize change. You do something that helps you change as an individual. You make that internal, and that changes you as a person because you're involved now in making the world a better place. That internalizes the change. Then you have to institutionalize change, whether you change the laws, You change institutions. You change the way free enterprise works through being a venture capitalist on green projects. But you do those things. You do those two things together. You internalize change, and then you institutionalize change. And creating a green business is a great way to institutionalize change, because look at the solar energy industry. Look at the wind energy industry. Those are industries. Someone is profiting from that, and that profit helps them reinvest into more solar energy or more wind energy. So if you're a young business person, young entrepreneur, good for you. Just do it green. That's the key thing. Whatever it is you're doing, do it green. Starting a business, investing in that, that's a great thing. Do it green, make it last.
Yeah, absolutely. And it has been so great to have you on the show with us today. And we really look forward to seeing the change that you continue to make here in Dallas and even beyond.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and an honor. And thank you for doing this great work you're doing.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Conservation Connection.
If you enjoyed our podcast, go ahead and subscribe to make sure you catch every episode that we post.
We would love to hear from you. So, if you want to reach out, go to our website, lastchanceendeavors.com/contact, and shoot us an email.
We love questions from our listeners, so if you heard something that you want to know more about, be sure to let us know.
We'll post bonus content that addresses your questions and gives you a little more information.
A big thanks to EarthX for hosting us, and a big thanks to you for listening. Don't forget to tune in next week.